if you don't want to wait in line, we're offering you a new thing where you can just pay only €8 per ride per guest, and wow, you can skip lines. How amazing is that? And don't forget, €8 is just a starting price. It could go up to €15 at times. That is ridiculous. So hi everyone, how's life? Today I want to talk about quite a big news that happened in the Disneyland Paris community and really in the whole Disney parks world. Yesterday it was announced that Disneyland Paris will stop using regular FastPasses, the paper FastPasses that have been happening in Disneyland Paris up until 2020, and that they're going to be changing solely to another system which is called Premier Access. It's going to be through an app, you have to pay for it, and I'm going to get to all the details in a second, but I talked about it a little bit on my Instagram yesterday when the news was first announced, and a lot of you messaged me back and we talked about it a little bit on Instagram. So Instagram's always a good place for you to chat to me if you want to just have like direct conversations there and then. I can say that overall I don't think it's going down very well in the Disney community, and I understand that completely. One of you though, shout out to Faye. Faye messaged me to say if I would make a video talking about my opinions on this, and initially I thought I would just make like a live Instagram today and chat about it, but then I thought most of my audience are here on YouTube, so this makes more sense. So yeah, let's talk about it. Firstly, what is this new system that Disneyland Paris have put in? Premier Access. Apparently, as they have announced, launching this summer, you are going to be able to purchase a FastPass for certain rides, and you can do this on the app, which is called Premier Access. And from what Disney has given us so far, apparently the prices will start at €8 per ride per guest. That is not cheap. Also, let's not forget they've said starting, so at certain times of year when, you know, it's busier, when attractions are more popular, this could be even higher. I think it could go up to €15 per ride per guest. That is a lot of extra money that a lot of families don't want to spend and maybe can't spend on their holidays. I think the pricing, honestly, is pretty ridiculous. However, the actual concept of it, the concept of a paid FastPass, to me is not a surprise whatsoever. I wasn't shocked at all when I read about this. I was shocked about the price, not gonna lie, but I wasn't shocked about the actual idea of it, because unfortunately, because of the pandemic, because of what's been going on in the past year and a half, I think this really wasn't a surprise. I think Disney has lost so much money overall, and I'm not saying that they're struggling. Disney have so much money that, of course, even with all the losses that they've had, they still have a lot of money. But this made sense, unfortunately. I think as somebody who's been keeping up to date with the Disney news for, you know, a long time, to be honest, and I actually read about what's going on over at Disney World a lot as well. There's been rumors across the pond in Florida about a new paid FastPass system for the longest time. So yeah, one thing I will say is that unfortunately I've seen a lot of people commenting that like, oh, we're now gonna abandon Disneyland Paris and only go to Florida. Like, bad news for you. I'm pretty sure Disney World is gonna get a similar system very soon as well, and it's gonna be something that's gonna happen across all the Disney parks globally eventually. The days of free FastPasses around the world in Disney parks, I'm afraid, are over. And I actually think in many ways Disney World is to be blamed for this. Not Disney World in particular, but the guests who have been going to Disney World. So Walt Disney World is, I think, one of the biggest tourist attractions in the world. It gets so many visitors every year. It's obviously the most popular of the Disney theme parks worldwide as well, because it's the biggest one, so it can accommodate more people. And ever since they reopened last year in July after the first lockdowns, people have still gone, right? It's been nearly a year now since Walt Disney World has reopened, and guests are continuously going. It's getting busier and busier every day with the restrictions being lifted, and guess what? There hasn't been a FastPass system at all in the past year, and people are still going. So Disney have realized that even without FastPass being a thing, I mean, they literally don't offer any FastPasses right now. Not only are people still visiting the parks, but guest satisfaction also seems to be pretty good. Like, people seem to still love Disney World. So of course Disney, unfortunately, as a business, is going to be like, well, why should we bring back FastPasses for free when people seem to be okay without them? And we've lost a hell of a lot of money over the past year and a bit anyway, so now let's make it an option for people to pay for it. Unfortunately, that was just inevitable. I think that was one of the first things that I knew would change. Now obviously I can't talk much about Disney World because they haven't announced anything yet, but I'm like 99% sure that once they announce the return of FastPasses, theirs is also going to be a paid system. It might be different to Disneyland Paris, as I actually think they're testing out the waters a bit with Disneyland Paris to see how it goes down with the guests, and then they're going to probably either tweak it a bit or, you know, bring something totally different but still completely paid over to Disney World. So yeah, free FastPasses I really don't think are going to be coming back anytime soon, or ever, let's be real. Now let's go back to Premier Access over at Disneyland Paris. So Shanghai Disneyland actually apparently has been using a similar system for a while now, so they've had that over in their park, a paid system, a paid FastPass system called Premier Access as well. I don't know how it's going down there, but people seem to be using it, I guess, and so now they're bringing it to Disneyland Paris. I personally think that the prices are very, very high. They're very ridiculous. I mean, €8 per ride, per guest. If you're a family of 5 or 6, that's going to be so much more money than you'd want. It is really going to, unfortunately, going to filter out some people who just can't afford it, or maybe just don't want to, you know. It is a lot of money for a group of people, for a family. I think, and I really hope that they maybe bring this out later, I think it would have been much better if they had a bundle of some sort. So if you could maybe pay a little bit more and then have access to all the rides for all your family or your party throughout that day. So I don't really know what the prices would be like. Maybe like €50? Is that too much? I mean, Universal Studios in Florida do something like this for like way, way more expensive. But yeah, just like a bundle, that would mean that you don't have to pay every single time you want to go on a ride and like for every single member of your family, because that adds up. That really does add up, and I don't think it's a good value for money at all. But maybe if they did like a package for the Fastpasses where you could have unlimited access to all the Fastpass rides as many times as you wanted for your group, then maybe that would be better. I still don't think I'd be using it. So yeah, let's talk about how I feel about it personally. Now, it really doesn't affect me much, to be honest, because honestly speaking, I very rarely use Fastpasses in Disneyland Paris anyway. I'm obviously speaking from a very, very privileged position because I'm somebody who goes to Disneyland Paris a lot. A lot of the times when I go, I don't even really want to go on the rides. You know, I'm happy to just scroll around the parks, meet characters, etc. I'm also normally going as a solo traveler or with a friend or a group of friends, so I don't have to worry about anyone's expenses apart from my own. So that obviously puts me at an advantage as well. It makes it easier for me, because if I really do want to go on like Big Thunder Mountain and it has like a 2-hour queue, then I don't mind spending €8 just as a one-off to go on it that one day. But if you're a family, then it's very, very different, because it's not just one €8. You're gonna have to pay multiple €8, and if it's your first time or if it's like a particular special trip, then you want to, you know, try and do all the rides. If you have kids who don't really want to wait in lines for too long, like there's a lot that goes into it. I really do think that it's a sad decision that Disney has made. I don't agree with the decision at all, but unfortunately I also am not shocked by it either. I just think in this day and age, in this post-COVID world, we've already seen a lot of things that used to be free being taken away from us across all Disney parks. I mean, Magical Express and Disney World is one example. So I think that trend is going to unfortunately keep happening, and Fastpasses were one of the easiest things to do this with, because as I said, Disney have now tested it. Fastpass is not needed. People are still going to Disney World and Disneyland Paris as well. I mean, Disneyland Paris obviously has been closed for longer than Disney World, but generally speaking, with the Disney parks that have reopened since the pandemic, people are going to the parks without using Fastpasses and they're happy. Now, obviously, you do have to also take into consideration that in the past year and a bit that Disney parks have reopened, capacities have for the most part been lower. I know Disney World has recently really increased their capacity, and I think they're operating at like very close to full capacity now. I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but from the vlogs that I watch, it does look like lines have increased now and there seems to be a lot more people in the parks, but there's still no fast passes and people are still going to the park. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how all this works out, maybe when it's like completely full capacity and, you know, at the busiest times of the year and there's no fast passes. I can imagine lines going very, very, very long. So yeah, I don't know. As I said, for me, it doesn't bother me because I very, very rarely use fast passes anyway in Disneyland Paris. However, if this system or a similar system gets introduced to Disney World, for instance, that is going to make my life a bit difficult, because for me, Disney World is more of a bigger holiday. Obviously, I don't go to Disney World as often as I go to Disneyland Paris. Also, Disney World, with it being so much bigger just as a park, as a resort, there's like 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, and it attracts a lot more people as well. It's just generally a lot busier. It's going to be a lot harder, I think, to, you know, try and get on rides. In Disneyland Paris, I've learned my way. Like, even without fast passes, I'll be okay. I know exactly when to go on Big Thunder Mountain if I want to have like shorter queues. Attractions like Peter Pan's Flight, who normally gets pretty long lines in Disneyland Paris, I very rarely go on because I've been on it, you know, enough times. I don't need to go on it a lot. Ratatouille is another attraction that I used to sometimes get fast passes for, but Ratatouille does single rider, so in the past few years I've honestly only been going on it through the single rider queue anyway. Same with Tower of Terror. Tower of Terror is another one that I sometimes would use a fast pass on, but over the years I have managed to figure out kind of what times it has slightly lower queues, etc. And again, because I'm very fortunate that I go a lot, it doesn't bother me much if I can't get on the ride on sometimes. So my situation is very, very different. If I had a family, if I was going on a big trip, it would be very, very difficult to try and justify the €8 thing. Like, I wouldn't do it. I really don't think I'd do it. And for me, the only time that this whole new Premier Access paid fastpass system is probably going to come into effect is if I ever decide to go with my family. So if I ever decide to take my family, which I really want want to do at some point. I haven't been with them in years now. If I go with them, because they haven't been in ages and I would really want them to kind of have a proper holiday, I think that's when it's going to hit me that like, you know, I don't want my mum to have to wait so long for Ratatouille, or I don't want my dad to have to wait like an hour and a half for Big Thunder Mountain. So I think that's when I'm going to really miss the free FastPass system that used to be in place, and it makes me sad. It really does make me sad. I think generally a lot of the decisions made by Disney in the past year and a half have made me sad, but unfortunately I just think it's a decision that we can't change. I think they've purely made it for money, like it's purely a business move. There's no way about it. Like, it's so funny because I've seen on the Disneyland Paris website the way they've tried to kind of make it out as if it's a favor to the guests, like, oh, if you don't want to wait in line, we're offering you a new thing where you can just pay only €8 per ride per guest, and wow, you can skip lines. How amazing is that? And don't forget, €8 is just a starting price. It could go up to €15 at times. That is ridiculous. So no, I don't believe the lies, because it's obvious it's a lie. I think Disney fans who've been to Disney all the past years know that this is very much a scam, like it is, because we're all used to Disney FastPasses being free. We know what it was like. I think if a new family decides to go to Disney for the first time and they read this, they might be like, oh yeah, that's actually a good price, that's a decent price, I'll pay for it. But people who know that FastPasses used to be free, which is basically all of us right here, we realize that it's purely for money, and that, yeah, it's not the best idea for guests whatsoever. But yeah, having said all this, they have also said that they are keeping the standby pass. Now, the standby pass is something that they introduced about a year and a bit ago, I want to say, and it's also through the app. I actually used this on my October 2020 trip, so if you want to see me use this, maybe watch that vlog, but I'll also include a clip in a second here. Basically, the standby pass was introduced for the most popular rides in Disneyland Paris, so for instance, Big Thunder Mountain in the main park, and Crush's Coaster, I think, had it as well in the studios. And it's interesting because Crush's Coaster doesn't have a fast pass, and I know a lot of people will find it confusing as to why Crush's Coaster doesn't have a fast pass. Crush's Coaster did have fast pass for a while. They tested it out a few years ago, and for whatever reason it didn't work. I'm not sure why. I don't work in the attractions world, but they tested it out for a while and they realized that fast passes were actually making the queues longer, so they decided to scrap the idea, and now instead they have a single line, but the single line is also normally quite long. So Crush's Coaster is a very difficult ride to get on. However, as I said in my video, 12 mistakes not to make at Disneyland Paris, if you really do want to get on Crush's Coaster, try to go at the end of the day, you know, just before park closing time. That's normally when the lines go to their very lowest. There still might be a line, but it won't be as long as it's been throughout the day, so that's normally the best time to go on Crush. But anyway, yeah, so the standby pass sometimes will be an option for the big rides as well, like Crush and Big Thunder Mountain, and I think they've said that that's going to only be into place when it's very busy, so when the lines are very long, you have the option to use the standby pass, which basically in a way is a fast pass. You basically go on the app, you scan something, you put some information in, and it will give you a time to return, so it's almost like a virtual queue. Like I said, I did this last October for Big Thunder Mountain, and it was a very smooth process. I basically just went over to Fuente del Oro, which is opposite Big Thunder Mountain. That's where they had the, you know, papers information with the standby information. I scanned my phone, got a little time slot for when to return, and once I returned in about an hour or so, I didn't have to wait at all, really, maybe like 5 or 10 minutes, and I was straight on Big Thunder Mountain. So that system is still free. It won't be there all the time, it won't be there when it's quiet, but they have said that that's still a thing that they will be using, so that's at least good in some ways. It just means that families at least have one free way to still go on rides without waiting too long. But yeah, here's a clip of when I used it last year. If you go to Fuente del Oro, there'll be like explanation. So I've come here, this is normally a restaurant, it's closed at the moment. Instead they've got like all the information about the standby pass situation, so I'm going to try it out, see if it works. Otherwise I've got 2 more days. It looks like it's going to work. Standby pass confirmed. That's crazy. See my passes. Alright, well my time slot is from 16:30 until 17. But yeah, that's basically all I have to say, to be honest. As I said, I'm not a fan of this at all. I'm not a fan of the pricing whatsoever. I think the pricing is the worst thing. I feel like I could be on board if the pricing was a bit more reasonable. Maybe, like I said, if they offered a bundle where you could have access to all the FastPass rides throughout your day for all your family instead of having to pay per guest constantly. That is just too much. Overall though, it doesn't affect me much though, because I generally speaking don't use FastPass as much as Disneyland Paris anyway. I kind of stopped using them a few years ago. I'd maybe only use 1 or 2 every once in a while, but very rarely. Do I think I'll use it? I don't know. I think maybe, like I said, maybe if I'm there when it's very busy with a family member, a friend who hasn't been before, or who hasn't been in a long time, and I really want to take them on Big Thunder Mountain, and you know, we don't want to wait for 2 hours, then maybe I will do it as a one-off. I'll purchase maybe 2 FastPass tickets for Thunder Mountain on that day, but you know, definitely not going to be a regular thing. And I don't personally see it being a regular thing for many people, to be honest. It's a lot of money, it really, really is. But unfortunately, as I said, I do believe this is the future of all Disney parks, and I'd be very interested to see what Walt Disney World does. I think we're not too far from an announcement from them as well. Theirs is going to have to be slightly different to Disneyland Paris because they're a bigger theme park. They have so many more FastPass attractions, and I think it's going to be a bit more complicated for them, hopefully a bit more reasonable, I don't know, but I definitely think it's going to be a new paid system in Disney World as well, so I'm interested to see how that works, and I really hope it's not as expensive as the Disneyland Paris system, because Disney World is where I would normally want to use FastPasses. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of this whole new situation. Are you a fan? I mean, I don't think anyone can actually be a fan of having to pay more for something that used to be free, but I'd be curious to hear your thoughts anyway. What do you think of the pricing? Do you think it would be better if they did like a package instead of this individual 8 to 15 euro FastPasses that are just going to add up to become very expensive? Let me know in the comments down below. I really hope you're doing well. It's a weird time still, isn't it? It's a weird time in the world, but also Disney is changing so many things constantly. It's just madness. Thank you so much for watching. Follow me on Instagram if you want to chat to me more often, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!